Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving right into the timeless wisdom of David Bates's 19th century poem, Speak Gently. You'll find this featured in Unit 3 of the source material under the title, Your Space. We're going to unpack exactly how our vocal tone impacts, well, literally every social condition. Have you ever actually stopped to think about the physical weight of your words? Not just what you're saying, but how you're saying it, because that is exactly what we're breaking down today.
Okay, let's just jump right in and look at the poem's opening lines. They set up this incredibly powerful thematic hook right out of the gate. Bates is basically challenging us to think deeply about how we choose to influence the people around us. Are we going to lead with an iron fist, or do we lead with an open hand?
So that brings us to Section 1, the power of voice, ruling by love versus fear.
To really grasp Bates's message, we have to look at this macro concept first. The poem sets up this stark opening duality. If we choose to rule by love, it brings out the good we might do here. It creates this space where positive action can actually thrive. But on the flip side, ruling by fear brings harsh words that completely break down our connections. It's a straight-up binary choice presented right from the start.
And to really drive this home, the author uses a super specific word. He warns us to let no harsh words mar the good we might do. Now, to mar literally means to spoil. It's such a visceral image, right? Think of a perfectly crisp, clean glass of water. Just one single drop of dark ink, or, in this case, one harsh word, can completely spoil the whole thing. That's the sheer destructive power of a sharp tone.
Now contrast that spoiling effect with this next beautiful line. Bates reminds us here that affection's voice is just inherently kind. He points out that true friendships and deep vows are built on these gentle accents. Think about it. The absolute strongest bonds we have in life, they aren't forged through shouting or intimidation. No way. They're whispered low. They require a kind of gentleness that truly binds our hearts together.
Moving right along to Section 2, the stages of life, and exploring empathy across generations.
Notice here how the poet systematically maps out our empathy journey chronologically. The text demands totally different levels of understanding depending on exactly where someone is in their life cycle. So for the little child, we need to use accents soft and mild to gain their love, knowing they won't stay young forever. Then we transition into the intense, heavy feelings of youth. And finally, we reach the aged, whose sands are nearly run. It's literally a complete start-to-finish timeline of human vulnerability.
When we zoom in on this stanza focusing on the young, the poem practically begs us to realize that they're passing through a life full of really heavy burdens. The text notes they're going to have enough to bear as they navigate this world as best they can. It's a great reminder that young people aren't just entirely carefree, right? They're out there navigating a world that demands an awful lot from them. In fact, the text explicitly describes youth as being full of anxious care. And we're not just talking about fleeting teenage angst here. It's a profound, genuinely heavy state of internal worry. Bates is arguing that we actually possess the unique ability to soothe that deep-seated stress. How? Simply by softening our tone when we speak to them. It's a real game changer.
Then, shifting all the way to the opposite end of the spectrum, to the aged ones, Bates asks us not to grieve or bring sorrow to the careworn heart. The hourglass metaphor he uses here is just striking. The sands of life are nearly run. According to the poem, our responsibility is to use our gentle words to let them leave this life in peace. It's about respecting the incredibly long road they've already traveled.
Which brings us to Section 3, empathy for the struggling, specifically the poor and the erring.
Here, Bates outlines the intense, often totally invisible burdens carried by these marginalized groups. For the poor, the text demands that absolutely no harsh tone be heard. And why is that? Well, because they already have enough they must endure, meaning they're already suffering patiently. They're just trying to survive the harsh realities of their daily situation. Bates argues they really shouldn't have to carry the extra, unnecessary weight of an unkind word from us.
The poem then pivots and asks us to think about those who have erred, people who have made mistakes. Bates suggests that they may have toiled in vain. Just imagine the sheer frustration of working incredibly hard, literally toiling away, and producing absolutely zero results, having nothing to show for all that intense labor. That level of defeat, it fundamentally changes a person.
So the really crucial point here is this phenomenal call for restorative empathy. The text states, "Perchance unkindness made them so." It's asking us to pause and recognize that prior unkindness from the world might actually be the root cause of their mistakes. Our gentle words aren't just about being polite. They're an active, powerful tool to win them back again. Actually, Think about that. We can actively help repair the damage done by others just with our voice.
Okay, Section 4. Calming the fierce strife. Looking at a divine example. Bates elevates the whole explainer here by evoking the imagery of the one who gave his life to bend man's stubborn will. The text describes this epic moment when the elements themselves were raging, and with just gentle speech, a literal storm was quieted. Just 3 simple words: peace, be still. It serves as this ultimate historical and spiritual anchor for his whole argument, that gentleness commands absolutely incredible power. Let's look a bit closer at the word strife used in that stanza. Whether we're talking about the chaotic, raging elements of nature or a fierce, stubborn disagreement, strife between 2 people, gentleness has this unmatched power to step in and say, peace, be still. It is, without a doubt, the ultimate de-escalator. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, the eternal ripple effect, dropping words in the deep well. The poem winds down using this incredibly beautiful metaphor of a heart's deep well. Bates acknowledges right out that speaking gently is a little thing. I mean, it doesn't cost us a dime, right? But when that tiny little thing is dropped into the deep well of another person's heart, it creates these profound unseen ripples. You might never fully see just how far down that well your kind word actually goes. And the text tells us exactly how long those ripples last. The good and the joy brought by that tiny, simple drop will be told for all eternity, an endless span of time with literally no end. A single softly spoken syllable of understanding doesn't just fade away into the air. It permanently alters the endless timeline of the person who receives it. So as we wrap up this explainer, having unpacked David Bates' structured argument from childhood all the way to old age, from the marginalized to the spiritual, I want to leave you with this highly practical thought. Knowing the literal eternal power of your voice, whose heart's deep well will you drop a gentle word into today? Thanks so much for exploring this brilliant text with us.